So I was gonna wait to tell this testimony because I wanted to make it pretty. I was gonna do like this video and make it real pretty, but I can't even sleep because the Holy Spirit is on me so tough saying, tell it now. It can help somebody. I'm gonna be honest, in all of my 28 years, I had the most exhausting week this week. Like right about now, my body is on 20%. And you know how you wanna breathe, but it's all up here. Like I can't even believe, like, it's weird. So for the ones of you who don't know, I went back to school in 2023, right? And that was a lot for me because I went to college. I did my 4 years. And in my last year, depression kicked my butt. Anxiety kicked my butt. And it took me 3 more years to say I want to go back to school. And in 2023, I did. My sister was at my job one day and she was just like, Lily, go do it. Register for school. And my big sister is like my #1 role model in my life. She's my #1 role model. Not my parents, nothing. My sister. Both of them. And when she said this, I was just like, why not? Why not? What am I waiting on? So I did it. Long story short, this week was my final. Well, last Saturday was my final. So I've done almost 2 years of school, and last weekend was my final. I go in, take the final. I fail the final. I have anxiety. So I already knew like test is not my thing, but if I take it a second time, I may just get it. So that following Monday, I go to take the final again. I did better, but I failed it again. And so the instructor tells us, you all only have Tuesday to take the final one more time. And I'm not gonna lie, y'all, Monday for me was just full of defeat. I felt the most defeated I've ever felt in my life. It was like everything I left behind that put fear in my heart to never go back to school came rushing at my heart again. Like it just came rushing at me again. Like you're not capable. Your anxiety is going to take over. You shouldn't have done this. All the hard work I did to be confident, it all came crumbling that day. Like it felt like everything was contingent on me passing. And so I called my pastor. I'm crying. I literally lost it from Saturday to Monday. So Monday night, I end up praying real hard. And I said, Tuesday, I'm going to go in and pass that final 3rd time's the charm. Ain't no way around it. Because the president made it very clear to me that if you don't pass, you'll walk across the stage with a gown on, but you will not have your certification. If you don't pass, you will walk across the stage with your gown on, but your name will not be in the pamphlet. And y'all, I worked hard in school Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday for at least the last 7 months straight. So I went in with the intentions of passing. I said, ain't no way God gonna let me fail. You know, like, ain't no way. So I went in to take the test, and y'all, I failed again. I failed again. And when I tell y'all, it felt like the room started shaking, the floor stopped moving, my anxiety just took over so bad. And I am not ashamed to say this, it was so embarrassing. It was so, like, gut-wrenching. It hurt so bad because I literally couldn't control it. And I just kept saying, don't cry. Just don't cry. You an adult now. Don't cry up in here. She came out. She was like, you failed it again. And that was the day they were turning in the names. So if you didn't pass, your name don't get turned in. And the test is a 2-hour test. I had made it there at 3:30, finished at about 5:30. I had studied all day and failed it for the 3rd time. I didn't question God, though. I questioned myself over and over again. I just kept saying, how? Like how? And I told y'all I've been having a hard time with my instructor. And she just looked at me and said, maybe something's wrong. And for a person who already fights anxiety when it comes to test taking, it was like the attacking me more. And she said, you won't pass if you take it again. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to do some tutoring today. You won't be at the graduation or whatever, but at least you can do the test again later. And it just felt like everything I worked for was just for nothing in that moment, like nothing. And I really couldn't believe it was happening like that. All I could do was look at her and just say, okay, like, okay. Growing up, though, my mama always taught me we don't accept failure. So it killed me to sit there and let somebody tell me, like, you are a failure. That's it. That's all. You lost. Mind y'all, I was coming down from the anxiety. It still was so high. Everything was like here in my head. I couldn't even breathe straight. And she was just like, I'm sorry. It is what it is. I'm sorry. And I had to accept that because this is the real world. It ain't always going to turn around and be good. It ain't always going to turn around and be something great, which is what I was used to in my life. God always come through for me. It always turned out some way or another. It always turned out good. That's where my faith came from. Things happen, but God prevailed. And in that moment, I started telling myself, maybe God just wanted me to experience school again and put myself to the test again. Maybe graduating is not what the Lord wanted for me right now. I had to accept that. And so I made up in my mind in that very second, that's what it is. I said, okay, I said, but can I still review my test? She said, Talia, it's already 5:45. I'm leaving at 7. The test is a 2-hour test. There's no need to review your test right now. I said, just let me review it. And for the test, we can't use our phones. We can't have nothing on us. So if you review, you got to come to the back with nothing in your hand. So she was at her desk and I sat on the floor. And she turned around and looked at me and said, even if you take it again, you failed 3 times, you're going to fail again. And that was like somebody gut punching me, y'all. Like, that was like somebody gut punching me. I'm very confident. I'm very hardworking. That was like somebody gut punching me. Because I was already sitting on the floor and she was sitting at her desk. And then she said, even if you take the test, somebody has to facilitate it and I'm leaving at 7. So at least 3 instructors walked by and she asked them. And they looked dead at me and was like, no, I'm doing a class today. No, I'm doing this today. And I'm in my head like, God, like, this really what it's finna be. Like, this is it. If my name don't get turned in today, this is it. But when she looked at me again and said, you can't do it, I was so defeated and I knew it wasn't me thinking. I heard a voice say, but God can. And it was like a light went off, y'all. It was like a light. She never handed me my test back to review it. So that whole time I'm just sitting on the floor, just in deep thought, losing it. I kept saying, can I see my test? She was so busy talking to the instructors, never handed me my test. But when I heard, but God can do it, it's like something woke up. I said, can I call my mama? And she was like, yeah, call your mom. Like, you know, you're 20, like, call your mom, okay? And I'ma always call my mother because I realized growing up that my mother is the way that the Lord speaks to me. So when I heard God can, I needed her advice. By then it was already 6 o'clock and she said she was leaving at 7. So I called, I said, Mommy, I failed again. I broke down in the hallway. I just went to crap. Like, I just failed. I broke down. I said, I failed, but she is saying I could take it one more time, but I failed 3 times. My mama didn't break. My mama didn't budge. She said, take it again. I said, Mommy, I'm not. I said, I'm not taking this test again. I said, I can barely breathe right now. I need to just go home and focus on like my mental and my body at this moment because I'm going to faint. I hadn't ate anything. I was studying the entire day. I took off work. At that point, I was faint. Like, I just felt dizzy. She said, Talia, get up and go take that test again. I would be lying if I told y'all I'm even okay right now. I'm still coming down from this. The day was crazy. By that time, it's 6:10. I said, I'm going to take that test again. The president looked at me. She said, you failed 3 times. Why would you take it again? She said, this test is a 2-hour test. It's 6:10. I'm leaving at 7. No ands, ifs about it. I'm leaving at 7. And she made that clear. I said, I'm taking it again. So she said, even if you take it again, I got to go find you one of the other tests. It's 13 different versions of the test. You've already failed 3 of them. I said, okay. At this point, I'm a walking zombie. I have no energy. I had no nothing in me. I had nothing in me. On top of that, she has to let you into the back, but the door was cracked, so I walked back there while she go to look for another test. When I step back there, I hear her and some of the instructors just laughing. Like, why would she do it again? I just heard them laughing. When she turned back around, she didn't even notice I was standing there because I'm just looking at her. I said, you got the test? She said, yeah, Miss Baker, just go in there and take it. And I'm telling y'all this testimony because God is so good. God is so good. When that test got in front of me, y'all, every question that I had studied for the entire day was on that test. Every specific question that I had studied for was on that test. I started at least 6:15. By 6:25, I was done with the first 50 questions. By 6:45, I was done with that test. It's like God just came in and took over my mind. I had no more energy, so I knew it wasn't me. I was flying through the test like that specific one was made for me. I could barely breathe, taking it. Handed it to her at 6:50. After they ran it through at 7, she came out and said, you aced it. You got a 90. I could do nothing but just burst out into tears. Like, I could do nothing but cry. She said, get up and give me a hug. Jesus, no, I didn't want to give nobody a hug. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think straight. But God, my name will be on that pamphlet. I will be graduating next weekend and certified and licensed. Don't ever tell me what God can't do. For you, for me, don't ever doubt what God can do. You may not be able to do it, but God can do all things, and turn it around. And another thing, don't ever play with people because you don't know who they serve. And that's that. Love y'all. Good night.